Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A lot of people, especially from the younger generations, I'm 30 and around 20 to 25 people and below 30, especially those who are married recently, are asking me, Abdul Hadi, it's a reality that we have emotions and we have adrenaline, we have hormones, and right now I'm staying away from my home. So and from my wife, or she's studying and she's away from me. We are separated, territorially and regionally. So can we go for, masturbation, both of us, in our own places, by looking one to another, the still picture or a moving picture or video chatting, partially or fully naked in it, or at least by recalling and remembering our sex or our moments, or something that we did not do but we are imagining about it. A legitimate question, a very important question, in fact. Out of my humble experience in guiding, in practicing a great sexual life, I believe, inshallah, my wife also says the same generally. And out of my humble experience in guiding people towards a better sexual life, with an Islamic personality, with an Islamic outlook, this is one of the most important questions I have ever heard. First of all, let me tell you in the beginning that the conventional act of masturbation, which is, of course, it is possible. Those who have done it or those who are doing it exactly know that it is quite possible to do masturbation without even imagining or thinking about a woman. It's possible. Or men, it's possible. About women, I don't know exactly how much is it possible, but regarding men, if we are experienced and expert on it, it's quite possible to do masturbation without looking a still or looking to a still or moving image of a woman, or thinking about or recalling about a woman, or sex about her, etc., etc. But generally, people start to do it, or on a larger scale, people do it by looking or imagining a still or moving image of a woman, partially or fully naked, or at least recalling the sex with her or with anybody else, or at least imagining a sex with a woman or multiple women, which is absolutely and categorically haram. There is no excuse in it. There is no exception in the category. Generally, none of the prominent ulama has ever told that it is halal, even though there are many opinions who say that it is not still categorically haram. But out of my humble knowledge, wallahu alam, Allah knows the best, that there is no categorical proof that says that it is not haram. It is, which means it is close to haram. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, it is better, and we are mu'mins, we should stay away from the boundaries of Islam, which is haram. Now we are talking about seeing or imagining, seeing or looking to or imagining the still or moving image of our own wife or wives, or video calling with our wife or wives, not together. If we are doing video calling with our wives, it should be better that we should not inform each other that we are doing with multiple persons, or they must not see one another. Absolutely, it's not halal. We all know that. So but by video calling, either seeing or imagining or video calling with our wife or wives, we can or we cannot do the masturbation as Muslims. This is the question. I found it close to halal or not haram. So Allah knows the best. I believe that I understand, as I understood, that it is halal, slightly halal, or not haram to do masturbation with our wife, around our wife, or on our wife, or even by the hands of our wife. And the same for our husband as well, for men and women, Muslim men and women. Now, so we have a clear view on that. It is not clearly and categorically haram, or it is slightly halal. There is no such thing in Islam, but especially Mashayikh told me that if we fear that we will be exposed to even more dangerous and gruesome harams, it is better to do masturbation. It's a common principle in Islam, in fiqh, in jurisprudence, that we may go for, when there is no way other than that, go for lesser harams if we genuinely and legitimately fear that we will end up in even dangerous and even more gruesome larger scale harams. So apart from that, or on that account as well as thinking about our wife and staying away from her, of course, is a destructive provision, and we may do it. Wallahu alam. Wallahu alam. So that is the Islamic view, and may Allah save us from being ending up in gruesome or even slight harams. Barakallahu fina wa fikum, inshallah. Now the second point is that, should we really do it? First of all, let me clarify that if you are away from your wife, and if you are generally, if you are a normal person, or if you are away from your husband, and of course we are supposed to be legitimately having emotions and adrenaline, hormones, etc., so we are supposed to be wanting for sex. So masturbation of men and women is a genuinely effective and legitimate action, as a relief, not as a substitute, never as a substitute, but as a relief for our natural sex with our husband and wife. Now to the real topic, should we really go for masturbation as a legitimate resort to do or enjoy sex with our wife or husbands? I would say, please don't go for that, because with your penis or with your vagina, a masturbation, thinking or seeing or imagining about your wife or husband, respectively, whichever is relating to you, will never be the same, or even far related to the real act of sex. My dear people, the damage to the brain the masturbation can do. I'm not talking about seeing or imagining a porn view or image, which does damage to our brain, and it's scientifically proven by multiple universities. My point is, you are greatly empowering, emancipating, encouraging, rejuvenating, and refurnishing your brain, your psyche, your physiology and your psychology, your emotions and everything, the whole apparatus, greatly, in an uncompromising and unparalleled way, when you are doing partially, absolutely, or sometimes, alhamdulillah, if you are blessed, a completely successful sex with our husband or wife. It is never matched by anything else in this world, in this universe. Nothing can match that. The severe issues of simulating the full sex without doing it between husband and wife. My dear people, it has a great level of damage it can do with our life. I mean, to our brain, to our collective emotions between our husband and wife, the feelings, psychological collections and combinations, as well as to our collective physiological provisions, and overall mutual contact and communication between husband and wife, our souls, our bodies, and our emotions, our feelings, our sighs, our smells. My dear people, they can never be matched or even remotely related to what we are doing during a masturbation. So my point is, even though it can be halal, or it can be termed as halal, it can be considered as if we go to a larger extent, a minor haram, or slightly halal. Wallahu alam. Please don't resort to masturbation as a legitimate substitute or even as a legitimate relief. It can be a relief. You may do it, and you might will probably doing it, but please don't resort to the masturbation as a legitimate way of enjoying sex with your wife or husband. It is damaging the total course of your sexual life, because I found it embarrassing, greatly embarrassing, and extremely underperforming and poorly delivering compared to even a partially successful sex, my dear friends. I would like to declare that even 1 million act of a greatly successful masturbation will never be same to even just one completely or greatly successful act of full real sex with your wife or husband. I would like to say that it is nowhere when we are compared to the real sex. Masturbation is nowhere, my dear people. So, dear friends, please think about this. If Azil, removing our penis from the vagina of our wife or wives, close to the ejaculation, I found it, and I know that you all know that it is losing the 80% of the total enjoyment, and you're getting just 20 or less or around that bar from the out of the joy of the real sex. What would be the masturbation? It is greatly underperforming, greatly less delivering, or somehow not delivering exactly, a little bit only. My dear people, out of my humble experience of 7 years of generally greatly successful life with my wife, I ask you to people not to spend your life being away from your wife for a prolonged period. I mean, if your life and your enjoyment, your sex, and with your emotional communication with your wife and husband, if all of them are objected just because of your job, you may leave that job. I'm not asking you to leave a greatly positioned job and a greatly paying job just for one act of sex with your wife or husband. No, I'm not asking for that. But my point is, if you're seriously thinking about it, and if you think that you are severely damaged regarding your emotional and sexual and other provisions of your life, please think about relocating to another job that facilitates meeting your wife at least once in 4 months. As Umar radiallahu anhu said during his time, that he mandated for his soldiers to meet their wives at least once in 4 months. So at least let's take 4 months as the maximum time within which you should meet your wife and husbands, whichever relates to you. So this is what I have to say. Wallahu alam, Allah knows the best. I have inquired many people. I have researched a lot, and I have not found it is categorically haram. Most of the people doubt whether it is halal or haram, and a legitimate number of people have termed it as halal if we fear that we will end up in larger harams, and especially when we are doing it with our wives. People are really confused, and we hardly find any categorical declaration that it's haram to do it even with your wife. So you may do it, and may Allah protect us from ending up in larger harams, or even slight harams or minor harams. And even though, please don't resort to masturbation as a legitimate way of enjoying sex with your wife. It is greatly damaging your total overall sexual history, because over the years you are supposed to develop great traditions and customs of sex between your wife and husband. And even though you may be minimalizing the number of positions and limiting the great joy to some provisions only, but still you are supposed to develop and improve your sexual life over the course of years greatly, in a way that is unimaginable. We can never count it. And the joy and the real satisfaction and ecstasy that we are supposed to enjoy over the years, even for one time or 2 times a week of sex. Unbelievable, indescribable, inexplicable. So you rather find your time and money without breaking your job or studies. Of course, never break your job or study for sex, but along with that, please find time and energy and money to travel to your wife or husband and to enjoy real sex. Even it is not as successful as expected, it will have a great impact in your life rather than 100,000s of masturbation. Thank you so much. Jazakumullah khair. Wallahu alam. Allah knows the best. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.